Well, I had thought that I'd start just by encouraging your acquaintance with stillness, rather that music that Phil played at first took the words out of my mouth. But Dimitris was talking a bit on the path coming down from the church this morning. How do I deal with agitated mind, the ego? I'd suggest a more sort of tactful approach by deepening the feeling of being comfortable with stillness. There are several words, and several times I've explained, and this is rather my own way of looking at it. Some will no doubt disagree, but it seems very real to me, that silence, stillness, space, peace, presence, spirit, and God. Now, where does one end and the other begin? I suppose at the beginning you could put in relaxation, which if a little sort of demonstration of that is that, which actually is the best explanation of meditation I've ever come across. It's just that. It's letting go. And all these benefits. Another one, with peace comes contentment, doesn't it? A sense of peace, that all is actually held in something life's bigger than we think, isn't it? And where does love chip in? What are these things we call the everlasting arms? The invisible friend, the one who never fails, which never judges us, which accepts us totally as we are, just like the sunshine does, the fresh air. Doesn't laugh at us, laugh at our foolishness, it just holds us, doesn't it, in its total acceptance. So, hopefully, like I repeat, I encourage you to become ever more familiar with this. Learn to trust it, especially when you're in a room of crowded people, in towns and that, because this stillness is everywhere. In the busiest street, in the most craziest shopping centre, it's absolutely there. All you've got to do is just feel your feet on the floor, just listen beyond. That's the secret. Listen beyond the noise, and there you have the stillness. Just like, look beyond the sights, and there's the infinite sky, isn't there? It's obvious. There's nothing clever about it, it's just there. The sky is always there, isn't it? This wonderful, totally uncritical, uncluttered space that we call the sky. And the storms and weather come and goes, but the sky is always there. The peace is always there. And this, well, perhaps we just get bored with all the confusion. We just get bored with worrying about me and my failures. And this comfort is always present. What does Jesus call the Holy Spirit? The Comforter. The Comforter will teach you all things. Now, there's a promise, isn't there? Why do we bury ourselves in books? What for heaven's sake? I've written some myself. Lose your interest totally. But it really does. Look here now. I don't know what to say. How do I know what to say here right in front of you? But you see, this presence, you can use a clever expression like Holy Spirit if you like. It really does. This is what informs us. We are like balloons, aren't we? An empty balloon, a flat balloon, a little flabby bit of rubber that is nothing very much. Now look, you open yourself up to this, and what happens? This, I don't know what word to use for it now, this spirit fills you, it fulfills you, doesn't it? Fulfills the balloon. You are informed by it. Now then you can refer to it. What's the whole world chasing after? What are half the conferences in the world about? Peace, aren't they? How do we learn to live in harmony with each other? Oh, what's the problem? This peace, this gift. The best things in life are free and effortless. A gift. And this is true information. This is true knowledge. True understanding. That's all I've got to offer you. I haven't got it, of course, but it's a matter of sharing, isn't it? Sharing more than offering, really. Like, we went up on the hill yesterday, and it was obvious, wasn't it? You all without any telling, naturally expanded and came to rest, didn't you? And so now all we need is, first step, stop talking, feet on the ground, be present, and here it is. You know, we have aspirations to be spiritual, don't we? Seek the spiritual life, but see what it is, how simple it is that to be spiritual. Well, it's here, isn't it? Just allow it in. And I'm sure you, listening to me, you've forgotten about your aches and pains, haven't you? Forgotten about how old you are, or all the problems, the identifications of the world. They just melt away, don't they, before? Like when the sun shines and the morning mist floats away. Or when you switch on the light and the darkness is... What happens to it? No longer there, is it? Here is peace, and where is agitation? Like a bit of distant traffic, isn't it? And even that's held in peace. Even the traffic becomes beautiful when it's seen from a distance. So why worry about a little bit of internal traffic jams in the mind? Well, this is practice, and this really is work. This is spiritual work. And I know most of you have already started. I suppose I started when I was still a very young man, certainly in my early 20s, asking big questions about what life is for. No, I was still at school, still in my late teens. What's it all about? Questioning religion and all this. What am I here for? And indeed it is. It's a long, long process of inquiry and trying various things and failing and try again. And you meet people that seem to have it and then you find they don't. And if we're lucky, we find a good method of spiritual work. This, I assure you, I've spent my whole life struggling to come to this point where I can speak like this now. Well, that's why I really started off this morning's meeting by encouraging you to deepen your acquaintance with this simple sequence of silence, stillness, presence, nature. Look how instinctively, even, here in this bed and breakfast, our host has put some flowers just on her window box there. You know how instinctively people have a little, even if you live in a flat in a city, have a little potted plant, or some pet or other. Because these things draw us towards the natural, don't they? And our human condition is so unnatural that this inner compass within us, this instinct for something that is more natural, it leads us by such basic steps to go for a walk in the park or something. If you're fortunate to live in a place like this, of course, we've got the lovely hills all around us, plenty of opportunity. Be with animals, green grass. Think how people go on holiday and instinctively lie in the sun. You know how travel posters advertise the sun and the sea because it indicates what I'm talking about. People will spend pounds and pounds for a what do they call them, penthouse flat, so they can have a lie out in the sun, see a big view, because a big view is always expansive, isn't it? All these things are really obvious. We all know them, and they all lead us in this direction. And so much depends on, of course, we love our egos. This is the real problem. We love our self-importance, our own, being the centre and soul of the party. We think it's great. Well, we can live our whole lives like this. Look at all my achievements. I can write a whole list of them, all the things I've done in life, the important people I've hobnobbed with, books I've written, things I've done, champion of this and that, professor of this and that. Well, we get what we want in this life. If we get fed up with it at some point, you can begin to see maybe at the end of life we realise we can't take it with us beyond the grave, so we begin to say, well, what was it all for? Was it really worth as much as we think it was? We might begin to look for something else. All this thought may come to us early in life. Well, whatever the process is, what I'm talking about, is here waiting for us. And it'll welcome us back with open arms whenever we turn this way. Some people get awakened very early, and others seem to never wake up at all. They die in fear and not knowing. I think one of the best, to answer your question perhaps more directly, what can we do about it? Well, I remember being told many, many years ago, just get fed up with it. I was reading, working on another book, and forgive me, more words, but I was reading a letter I wrote. I was 50, in my 51, and it was a letter describing the spiritual, the pull I was experiencing towards spirit. But it's all about me. This is my work. This is what I feel. And of course, at the time, this was how I expressed it. Now, 30 years later, I look back and I see how these three little words, I, me, and mine, are the unfailing indicators of ego, the cause of all our trouble, this separate existence. But of course, even if we see it, we don't believe it. And at the age of 51, I saw it as my spiritual search for my union with God. And this is what I had to do. This was my work. Well, now I feel sort of rather embarrassed. I don't know whether to include this letter in the book or not, because I'm a bit, as I say, embarrassed by it, but I'm sure you would recognise. What did you come here for? Was it for your benefit by any chance? For me, wasn't it? You thought you, i.e. me, would get something out of it, didn't you? Oh dear, sorry to disappoint you. I remember another key principle of the school where I was taught to meditate, which of course one didn't understand at the time. They used to say, there's nothing in this work for me. When I was a young man of 26, I wanted to make the world a better place. So I went out to South America with the optimism of youth and tried to, not very unsuccessfully. Anyway, after a year or so of not very successful efforts, I was sitting on a mountain one day, and from somewhere, I don't know where, somehow something seemed to say to me, to make whole, be whole. And that actually has been with me all my life. And I've got no better answer to give you. To make whole, be whole. But it's taken me most of my life to understand really, to understand in practice what it is. Now, of course, we start off by trying to make me a better person, don't we? We think it's up to me to be wise in front of my students and to have the answers to the world and know how to go on a course or something to learn how to deal with stress. Well, you may have some success at that, or you may not. How have I found it? Well, through a lot of failure, I could say a lifetime of failure, I've come to realize that I can't really do it on my own. And I suppose at the same time, this acquaintance with what I'm talking about, stillness or spirit, has developed. And I've gradually come to have less confidence in myself and more confidence in that. And words from Scripture, which I've known since a child but never really understood, like trust in the Lord, lead me and guide me, thy will not mine, begin to make not only more sense now, but total sense. Now then, what have I got that brings you here, Martin? I've got nothing. Look, John Butler in a year or two is going to be mouldering away in a grave, aren't I? I expect in a year or two words I've got, words I speak will be forgotten. And yet what is here present? Now, how much stress is there in this room at the moment? Just expand into the street outside and the garden. And a bit further to include the whole of Bakewell. And this valley. And all the way to where you live. And all the big cities and all the news bulletins. You see how it's all held in this one undivided peace, isn't it? And I've done nothing about it at all. All we've done is just that. Why do we say in times of stress, God help me? Or when we get into despair, God knows what to do. God only knows. These words aren't foolishness. What do we mean by God? Is it some remote, whatever are we talking about? Never mind. Just come down a bit, just bring it down to what we can encompass, this presence, this immediate present stillness. Don't worry about God for the time being. Just be here, just accept what's here. And realize that totally within our ability, the ability of a child, this presence is here. And look how in the garden, all the plants are in this. Don't resist it. Why do we get peace looking at a field of cows or sheep just lying there? Because they're in it naturally, like fishes in the sea. The whole world is demonstrating this to us. And yet we live in this world of stress. My God, oh Lord, yeah, this is the problem. Let go. Even if we just look out of the window, we feel better, don't we? But of course, we're so in love with this thing. You know, the funny thing is, we love our suffering. There's nothing that we're less willing to let go of than our suffering. And usually it's this mental suffering that we love more than anything. We'll hang on to our problems. You try and tell someone he hasn't got a problem, his problem isn't real. He'll slay you. And the whole, our world is feeding on this. The media feeds on it, believes it. We hang on to it. Like this. And when we do this, we've got me all boxed up, all figured out. I'm the loneliest, the most unhappy man in the world. And I tell you, my dears, that not so long ago, I was the most unhappy man in the world. I'm sure I was much unhappier than any of you. And now I dare say I'm one of the happiest. How did it happen? How did it happen? I just got interested in something else. More interested in something else. You know, just to take this up, dears, you see, I don't think Phil's got a problem. But when I look at him, I don't have a problem. I don't see his problem. I can look at him and smile at him. His problem it doesn't affect me. I'm sure the person out in the street's got a dreadful problem. But I don't, So when we look out at the world, we're all like an automatic gramophone record playing over and over and over. The world is full of problems, isn't it? Well, just try. Where's the problem? I don't see any problem. And you see, really seriously, truly, you come to this blessed peace. And what is this thing we call death or disease or suffering? What are these human discomforts, human fears? Are they really as real as we think? Well, we use words like real or unreal, don't we? Which, I use them myself, these words, but maybe they help, maybe they don't. We always want to label things, don't we? Box them up into convenient little things called reality or illusion or something. Words they're a mixed blessing, aren't they? I've grown up. Yes, that's right. See, when I was a child, I was full of childish fears. Then I was a young man in agony over all sorts of things. I've just grown up. That's it. Just as simple as that. I'm afraid we're all little kids in school, and life is a big school, and we just grow up, go from one form to the other, and then eventually, with good luck, we graduate, and we grow up out of. Look at me, I'm dying, aren't I? My body's all but finished now, and yet my spirit is flourishing, isn't it? It's obvious. I'm growing up out of mortality into freedom. You can see it for yourself. And we all are, except you're a bit more encased in your flesh than I am. Because you've got a soldier on in this veil of tears a bit longer than I have. And we don't know how we grow up, do we? Who knows how? We know lots of things we don't know. We don't know how we fall asleep, do we? How we wake up. And how do we grow up? What's the process? Who knows? Think back to when you were little boys and girls. All the long things you've gone through in your lives. Many, many changing scenes. People that have come and gone. Somehow we're hardly realizing what's happened. It's all just happened, hasn't it? Sometimes looking back, was it as real as it seemed at the time? what happens to the night when the dawn rises? All those fears